Most players think they're improving just by grinding games, but let me tell you, if you're still missing these fundamentals, you'll basically just practice your bad habits over and over again. Today, I'm going to be breaking down the exact things that I realized separate hard stuck players from the ones who actually climb in Marvel Rivals. No fluff, no filler, just actionable tips that you can start using right away to win more games. By the way, for those of you that don't know who I am, I've spent a lifetime playing competitive shooters and hit top 1% in almost all of them, from Valorant to Overwatch. I've seen what it takes to climb in these games, and I've also noticed a lot of similar mistakes in the lower ranks. It's all about refining the fundamentals and keeping a focused mindset. That means making sure not to let your emotions get the best of you. Just because someone doesn't play a certain character that you want them to play, or someone's playing bad, or maybe your teammate's throwing. Before watching any guide or any tips on improving, including this one, you gotta learn not to let your emotions get the best of you, and you gotta stop getting mad over a video game. So that's the first tip. Stop getting mad. Alright, now we can get into the real tips. Look, spamming shots feels faster, but what you're really doing is spraying and praying. And as a result, your aim turns into a messy little circle around your enemy instead of hitting clean shots that are more intentional. Now I know it sounds counterintuitive to shoot slower to get more damage, but trust me, start tapping for each shot, even if you're playing a fast-firing hero, and you'll notice a huge difference in your accuracy. When you consciously tap, you reset your focus every single shot. You're aiming with purpose, not just hoping your tracking is good enough to get you the kill. Imagine how many duels you've lost just because half your aim was off target and more lazy and unintentional. That ends today. Now, obviously with people like Star-Lord, you might be able to get away with a little burst damage rather than just tapping a single shot, but I think you get the point where every time you let go of your mouse one, you start aiming a little bit more. You try to improve your aim and then you start again. You click. Again, I know how silly it sounds, but just try it for a couple weeks and trust me, you'll notice a huge difference in your aim. Another mistake that's costing you so many wins is you're switching targets way too often. You're never gonna kill anyone if you try to kill everyone at once. For example, you get someone to one shot and they use their ability to reposition and you immediately switch off them to shoot a tank instead. This small attention span is costing you so many games and it's so frustrating to see in my own teammates. Doesn't it seem silly? You get a cloak to one shot and he cloaks away, and so instead of tracking where his cloak is gonna be, you start shooting at their strange instead and forget about the cloak. It sounds obvious in hindsight, but I've seen so many people do this and not even know they're making the mistake consciously. So next time, consciously try to always make sure you're focusing someone with intention. Once you're more aware of this, you'll realize how often you actually make this mistake and you'll learn to correct it over and over again until that becomes second nature and that becomes your subconscious way of playing. People make this mistake so often and wonder why they're losing so many games. They get 50k or 40k damage and they wonder why they lost. Then they end up inevitably blaming their team. Moon Knight mains especially, newsflash, especially as a Moon Knight, it is not impressive to get 50k damage in a long game. Moon Knight's whole ability is scattering his damage all over the place and to everyone. So of course you're gonna get damage. Wherever you you can shoot a Loki clone and it'll end up deflecting onto 3 people near it. Yes, you get a lot of damage, good job. But that means nothing if they're not dying. A general rule to help yourself from avoiding this mistake is a sequence of target priority. This is a good guideline to know who to focus when at all times. It goes whoever is uncontested first, then supports, then DPS, and finally tanks. Use this rule and pair it with the ability to have an attention span greater than Dory's and you'll win way more games, I can guarantee it. And in case you don't know what I mean by whoever's uncontested, think of a Punisher camping in your backline with 0 pressure, or an Iron Man overextended raining down damage from the sky with nobody contesting him. If you let them fire for free, they'll melt your team and learn that they can get away with bad positions. They can get away with being behind your team and get a lot of kills without being punished for it at all. Alright, let's go to the next one. You spawn, you die, you push alone, you spawn, you die, you push alone, you spawn, you die, you push alone. You getting a pattern? Stop pushing alone. Once this happens once or twice, your team stops grouping up. Suddenly you're fighting in teams of 3 instead of 6. It becomes a free win to the enemy every single fight because you're doing something called staggering. Now, if you haven't heard that term before, that pretty much means where your team doesn't group up once properly for a 6v6, So every time your team pushes up, it's always a short-handed battle for your side of the team. You gotta learn how to group up with your team, and if that means waiting an extra few seconds in your spawn, so be it. Wait those extra few seconds. Another thing that most people don't realize is sometimes it's actually a better idea to die quicker. Even though you can stay alive and probably inevitably die, you're better off to let them kill you so you can spawn in quicker with your team. Now, yes, I understand that while you're solo queuing, it can be frustrating when your team doesn't group up, but you can still control your impact. Again, just learn to wait a few seconds extra and spawn, or die quicker so you can spawn in with your team if you know it's a losing fight. This is something barely anyone does. I feel like most people think that they'll be fine and they get a gist of what every character does. But when I say know every character, I mean know every character. For example, things like Hela has wall hacks in her ult, and most Doctor Strange players will jump into the air before they ult. Or some people don't even know that Cloak can use her cloak ability on her teammates and save them from enemy ultimates. And because you don't know these things, instead of sticking with your cloak and waiting for it to fade away, you run away like a madman when you hear an ult. Once you understand each hero's combos, cooldowns, and habits, it's like you're reading their minds. Every time you see a Strange fly up in the air, you know he's about to ult. Or every time you see an aggressive Hela, you know that chances are as soon as she gets low, she's gonna pop her ult or bird away and then ult. When you play with this predictive mindset instead of just reacting, your gameplay becomes way more proactive and you're able to shut enemies down way more, and you just end up increasing the probability of you winning every fight and every game by multiples. By the way, if this video helped you at all, please consider giving it a like. It really helps the channel grow, and I'm still new. And because I'm still new, I also wanted to ask for your feedback. Go in the comments below and please tell me at least one thing I could improve on for my next video. I'm always trying to improve, and I know there's a lot I still need to do, but I just need your help to identify exactly what I can do or what my weaknesses are so I can always constantly make my videos better and better. Now, I know that's not why you're here, but it really means a lot to me and help me out. So if you do that, thank you so much. And if you don't, oh man. Okay. Anyways, at the end of the day, if you're wondering why you're hard stuck, it's not because your team is bad every single game. It's these fundamental mistakes that are stacking over and over again. Start applying these tips today and watch how quickly your performance improves. And if you want another helpful video like this, I'm going to be making another one similar to this, but a little bit more focused on tanks. I'm going to be talking about positioning, mindset, and strategies to make you a little bit more unkillable, so you can take space with a little bit more ease. But until then, if you want to watch a video to hold you over, click here. Thanks for watching and see ya.